7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
International superstar, Miss Mother B. Rocker!
You are now tuned in to Butter B. Rocker on Transparency Talks Podcast. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Transparency Talks Podcast. I am your girl, Butter B. Rocker. Listeners, it is wonderful to see you guys. I've been in hiatus. Well, it wasn't really hiatus. I went and got married, y'all. So I've been absent a little bit, but I am so glad to have our next guest on. She is an award-winning filmmaker, director, actor, and advocate for women and children. Can you guys please help me welcome Miss Sunnie McFadden-Curtis? How you doing?
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing really good. What about yourself?
Very well, thank you. And thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on the show. I appreciate it. Can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, just to go back a little bit, I was raised in the suburbs of Toronto, and I always had a passion for the arts, had a passion for teaching, and I was, made at a very young age to learn about socially conscious issues. And I always wanted to marry all of those together. And years later, I found a way, and that's through my documentaries. I'm a mother of 2 children. And, I just really am happy to do the work that I do. And, in hoping that it'll help so many others.
Okay. All right. So you produced and directed Broken Vows, Stories of Separations. Now, what I want to do is show your trailer and then we can talk about it. Is that all right?
Yes, please.
Okay, great.
The courts are busy. That's because we have a lot of people separating.
I was married 19 years.
23 years, together for 26.
13 years, but had been together 15 years.
16 years.
18 years.
17 years.
7 years.
6 years.
4 years.
23 and a half years.
If he appears again drunk to pick up the girls, I will have to call the police.
And he said, I want to come home to a wife and a normal child.
I thought, I'm gonna kill myself.
I've been on a journey to meet and talk with women. Women that have or are experiencing separation, or those who've been affected by it in other ways. I've heard their stories, gone back in time with them. They're sharing so they can free themselves enough to move forward. They wanted to share their stories, their secrets. Secrets they haven't told anyone. Until now. Did you ever share that story with anybody?
No, you.
And I said, Cole, Daddy's not coming home.
How are you going to keep yourself and your children safe? And how are you going to feed everybody? So the stress of that made me quite ill.
I've been separated for 10 years, and I've had some kind of active litigation for over 7 years of that time.
He continues to bring me back to court. I can't afford a lawyer.
I'm afraid of making the same mistakes my parents did.
When I got married, I never thought I would ever get separated.
You see, I am one of these women.
Is there anyone out there, anyone like me?
I did manage to save her home.
And you're not throwing away a marriage, you're saving yourself.
He proposed, We're now engaged.
Life is great, and I'm going to enjoy every moment while I can.
Like, I can do this. I know I can do this.
Is there anyone out there, anyone like me?
Wow. That was amazing.
Thank you.
Wow. Okay. So, why did you choose to produce Broken Vows Stories of Separation?
Well, I chose to produce it because I kept meeting an influx of women for some strange reason that were sequestered in the court system for years or a long time, and or in a paralysis state, and they had questions. And being an advocate for women and children, I set out to get some of those answers for them. And I spoke with a judge, and I interviewed a judge and lawyers and whatnot. And then I realized there was a void in the system for this kind of information. And that led me into producing a documentary on separation. And when I first started it, people kept saying, why separation? Why not divorce? Why separation? And I just knew that there was a void and there was a need for it.
Okay. So, as a director, what do you want your audience to walk away with after watching this documentary?
Well, I want them to walk away knowing that they're not alone and that they can walk through the darkness to the light. And if they don't handle it appropriately, the most vulnerable, being the children, will be affected in some cases for the rest of their lives.
Okay. What advice can you give others that are going through separation?
Well, firstly, what I would suggest and the advice that I would offer if asked would be find yourself a good lawyer that specialized in family law or counselor. I would definitely get a therapist and or counselor for yourself and your children, even before separation and after separation, so that they have someone to talk to. And then I would reach out to family and friends and let them know specifically what your needs are. And if you just need them to listen, then you be specific in telling them that. And if you need them to bring by meals or watch the kids, just let them know the specifics that you need. And that's where I would start.
Okay. What are some of the very challenging realities when facing separation?
Well, again, being sequestered in the court system for a long time, in a lot of cases, the women are the ones who have the children. So not only do they have to, work full time, care for the children, but they also have to in some cases, deal with legal issues and legal issues for a long time. So that can be very psychologically exhausting. And in fact, a separation can be one of the most psychologically exhausting times in a woman's life and or, people in general. Now, my documentary focuses mainly on women, so that's why I steer in that direction of speaking of women.
Okay. I went through a separation as well for a good minute, and my children were young, so it was definitely very tough, and I really didn't have anybody to really talk to and to go through it with. So I'm definitely interested in seeing this film. What do you say to young kids that are affected?
Affected or going through it?
Going through.
To be honest in your feelings to your parents, as honest as you can, and let them know what you're going through and what your needs might be. And that to know that they're not alone, that there are many other children going through this. And to, if you need someone to talk to other than your parents, then try and express that to your parents.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. So one of the things that I know happens is when you talk with women in this space, is it hard for them to go back in time and discuss it with you?
That's a good question. Um, Usually when I meet these women, they're in various stages of the separation, if not on the other side, but mainly going through the separation. And so it can be difficult. But what I did see in interviewing these women multiple times, because typically with documentaries, you follow your subjects to a certain degree, I actually saw before my very eyes them release a lot of whatever they were holding on to, because it was freeing to speak about it. Their true, authentic feelings. And I witnessed them being freed from it.
Yeah, I can relate to that as well. My separation did end in a divorce, and I wrote about it in my book, and it was definitely liberating. It was scary, you know,
Mm.
to confront it and to expose myself and tell the world, you know, what happened and and everything. But it was liberating once I finally, you know, shared it.
Yeah, it can be very, very scary.
Yeah.
And that's, part of the many reasons I did this documentary, to help put an ease to separation. And a lot of the times when we're scared or nervous, it's because of the unknown. And so providing this information, it's providing them some kind of ease to this whole process.
Mhm. So how many women did you interview, and are their stories similar or different in any way?
Well, I interviewed 7 women
Okay.
in total, and their stories are all very different and diverse. And so, it would be more interesting and be more far-reaching if I, covered different stories and pertaining to different things, so that it would be more reaching to the different stories and situations that are out there.
Mhm. So your hopes for the documentary and showing the different layers and different points of views is to be able to reach everybody.
Yeah, that there's something in there for everybody to, you know, um, attach themselves to, so to speak.
Okay.
Mhm.
So did you interview any men to get their perspectives?
I did interview men, but not for their perspective. I interviewed men that were professionals, and I interviewed the father of one of my subjects to get his perspective of what it was like to support his daughter going through something like this. But no, I did not interview any men. This documentary is more pertaining to the women
Okay.
and their authentic stories.
Okay. And have they shared their stories with anyone else?
Well, initially, at least 3 of my subjects hadn't, no. And I probably know their stories more than even their family members do.
Wow. Okay. So how did you get them to open up? Because it's one thing to tell your story, but it's another to tell your story and have a camera in front of you.
Mm. So what I would typically do for starters is I'd be the only one in the room and or my director of photography. So it
Mm.
would be just the 2 of us. And I always tell my subjects, well, I do a pre-interview with my subjects first. And then that sort of helps them warm up for it. But I always tell my subjects, if there's something that you said that you don't want in there, or you want to, rephrase it, you have that luxury. And if you don't want something in there, it doesn't have to be in there. So when they walk into the interview, they're again at ease and confident in who's interviewing them and in me.
Okay. So what was your process? How did you scout these women? Because I mean, I didn't go around saying, "Hey, separated chick right here." You know, I didn't go around telling people. So how did you find these people?
Well, you know what? With my documentaries, but it happens organically. So I'll put the word out there and I say, I'm doing a new documentary. This is the subject matter. Do you know anybody? And it's kind of like if you build it, they will come.
Mhm.
And separation is pervasive, and there's hundreds of thousands of people out there going through it. So in those numbers, there are people who are willing to, share their stories, and that they don't only share it, for them, but they share it to help others as well. And they feel if they can help one other person through their story, then that is one of the things that's rewarding for them, besides the fact that they're releasing.
Mhm. Mhm. Did some of your interviewers become ill from the stress of separation?
One of the big things that happens is, not eating, weight loss, not being able to sleep. The mental stress on one is, very taxing, but not where they were hospitalized and not where they weren't able to function.
Got it. Okay. Why do you feel therapy is so important? I definitely think, especially during that phase, that it is.
Well, one of the reasons I feel it's important is because, very much like you said, you didn't share with anybody.
Mhm.
And, in speaking with a therapist, they're unbiased. So it's a way of you releasing where, if initially you're not prepared to share everything with people, or to help you, within yourself reason where you might go with this. And for children, I mean, sometimes they're afraid to say things to their parents because they know that perhaps their parents are going through a lot and they have their own fears, but they might not want to share it with their parents. But, for example, a child psychologist or a child therapist or a child counselor, they're equipped to handle that and help the children through that process in terms of opening up and sharing their fears or their sadness or any number of things. And it's important for people to let that out. So again, they don't become ill or aren't able to function in their day to day.
Mhm. Mhm. Did you interview any of the kids affected by the separation?
I most certainly did. I interviewed 3 who were young or teens at the time of the separation, now young adults, and it still affects them today.
Right.
Now, they're functioning and they're going on with their lives, but, perhaps in their relationships, but it's very up close and personal when you see these interviews. They're very candid and very open.
Mhm. Okay. Does your film have a happy ending? Does any of the separations work out? Can you not tell us?
Now, separations working out, is that the question, or do
Mhm.
they go on with their lives? Um, so my documentary takes you from the darkness to the light. So, in answer to your question, yes.
Okay. All right. Have you seen a lot of separations resulting from the pandemic?
I know of some people who were in the process of it and then weren't able to separate as a result of the courts being closed.
Mhm.
And I know that the numbers definitely spiked during that time. But beyond that, no. But we, for sure, that it affected marriages. There's no question. And it either strengthened them or tore them apart.
Mhm. Mhm. How long did it take you to complete this documentary?
Oh my gosh. It took me 4.5 years. Pardon me, 4.5 years. Um, and it was quite the journey. And when I completed it at the height of the pandemic, the race riots, and a number of things. So it was a labor of love, but it took me 4.5 years. And then on the heels of that, I went straight into another project for another year.
Mm. Mm. Okay. So I'm very new. I'm a new film director, screenwriter, the whole 9 yard. I just did my first film that behind the scenes I'm having some it's challenging. It's not as easy as it looks.
It's
What
not.
No, it's not. What type of advice can you give women that are trying to get out there and tell their stories?
Now, do you mean as a director?
Yes, as a director.
Firstly and foremost, believe in yourself. And even if others don't, believe in yourself And if you have to dig deep for that, then you dig deep for that. And remember though, if I had gone into this project and said, oh my gosh, it's going to take me 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, that shouldn't be the focus. The focus should be on the day to day. But if you start it and you have hiccups along the way, that's okay. But get back on that horse and finish it. But firstly, believe in yourself. And, and the story that you want to share. And try to share it in the most authentic way. But, if there are parts of that story that people are telling you, it doesn't go in there, and you think it is, we call those darlings. And if you have darlings that are very special to you, then you hold on to those darlings.
But when you're new, sometimes you have, people that have been in the industry longer than you that challenge everything that you do. And it makes it a little difficult because they're like, well, you're the newbie. How do you stay strong to what you're saying? No, this is what I want.
Okay, well, I would surround myself, and that when I say surround, it could be 2, 3, 10 people, with people firstly that believe in you and that more want to mentor you than dictate you, and kind of let you free and learn along the way, because you are going to learn and wear many hats along the way. So if they're dictating you, then they're the wrong people to be around.
Yep. Very good advice. So I understand you also produce a companion 6-volume digital resource. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So I knew when doing this documentary that I was going to have an overabundance amount of footage left over. And I knew that information was going to be important, and too important to fall on the editing floor, if you'll have it. So I knew that I was going to compile that information into further education by compiling it into sections, i.e. wellness upon separation, or legal advice, or dating after separation, or finances. And so in speaking with the experts, I couldn't fit everything into a 96-minute film. So I compiled that into a digital resource broken up into 6 volumes.
Wow. Okay. So where does one view that?
Well, for starters, they can go to my website, brokenvowsfilm.com, and inquire or get information. It's up on the website now, but soon to be released. And so if one wanted to get just the legal volume, they could get the legal volume. If they wanted dating after separation, they could get that. If they wanted all of them, then they can get all of them. So it's like a module.
Okay. So Broken Vows it is streaming currently, or is about to start streaming?
It was released in April and May.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Very happy with that.
So where can they find your stream?
Well, okay. So again, on my website, brokenvowsfilm.com, on the homepage, it says watch the film. And if you click on that, there's a number of platforms, and you just click on the platform that you have, and it'll take you straight through to the link, and you can either buy or rent it. But in the US, it's on Prime Video and Apple TV, iTunes, and the list goes on. So
that is wonderful.
I'm really happy about that, because the more it's out there, Bada, the more it gets out there, the more people it's going to help. And so, that's really my objective.
Okay. So what's next for you?
Well, I just ended my workday shortly before I came on here with you. And I'm presently working on 2 other projects. I'm stepping away from documentaries for a minute. And one of them is a psych thriller based on true events. And the other one is a drama based on true events.
Nice.
And they're both features. And in both films, the female lead is somewhat of the hero.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And last question I have is, how can people reach you?
Well, and I'm hoping you're going to be able to post them, but they can reach me, again, brokenvowsfilm.com. They can reach me on Instagram at Sunnie, Sunnie, like on the screen, BIZ13, or Broken Vows Documentary, which is the other IG I have. And so they can reach me on both of those and my website. And, I am happy to hear from, viewers, not happy if they're going through a separation, but happy if they want to reach out, if they have any questions or, speak with me. I'm always open to that.
Okay. Well, I would like to thank you so much for being very transparent here on Transparency Talks podcast. And I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
I appreciate you, and I appreciate you for having me on and letting me get the word out about my work.
Definitely. Well, with that being said, everybody, we are out of here and we will talk to you guys later.
Ciao.